Welcome to Blue Monday from the Blue Room with me, Les and Dave. After a grim week of football, it looks like Everton's season is all but over after a pretty embarrassing FA Cup exit on Saturday. We'll have a quick look back at that before moving on to what appears to be a bit of an identity crisis on and off the pitch at Everton, as far as I'm concerned. But before we get into all that, a reminder that Blue Monday is brought to you in conjunction with Invisible Wind Factory, the first big venue you get to as you walk to the ground from town on the corner of Regent Street and Regent Road. We rounded off our run of 3 What's the Score at the Windies in a week on Saturday. I think Ian came closest to getting Saturday's result right, predicting a 1-1 draw and a win on pens. Though Matt predicted 2-2 and out on pens, and Foxy said 0-0 and out on pens. So both of them hit the post there, I reckon. We'll be back ahead of Leeds, so pop down there if you get a chance. Also, if you're after any Everton-inspired clobber to brighten up a gloomy January, head over to forevereverton.co.uk and use the code BLUEROOM20 to get 20% off your order. Nice top like this hoodie I'm wearing today. Right, Dave, looks like the season is over after last week's respective horror shows. 1 point out of those 2 league games and a pretty crappy FA Cup exit wasn't what we all had in mind at the start of the week. It can all change pretty quickly because Newcastle was 6th, we're 3 points behind them, and they've been pretty wretched this season. Brentford are 5th and we're 4 points behind them. But I think after last week, it just feels like this is a team that's just going absolutely nowhere. Now, I know there's players missing, but it's up to the manager to mitigate that and get the best out of what he's got. He did that last season. It just doesn't feel like he's doing it this season, does it?
It's starting to feel very deflated after, best part of a month now.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, you get to a stage in a season where it does, you get into a little bit of a lull, don't you? Generally this time of season, I think, when you sort of a bit after the Lord Mayor's Parade, isn't it? When you get to a point where you're thinking, do you know what? We can still do this, we can still do that. I've been one sort of waving the flag from the front, I think, saying that we could still qualify for Europe. We should finish in the top 8, top 7, because you've missed that many opportunities. But then maybe the reality is actually hitting me now to think that we're not actually that good. We're not good enough to be able to get to it, despite the fact that it's quite a short amount of points. And somehow you could go on a 3-4 game winning run, and then you are 5th or 6th, whatever position you are, and you're thinking, do you know what? We can really do this. I think I've gone past that line now, Les. I think I'm looking at it thinking, well, will we take, given what we've been thrown at, or given what we've done so far at the start of the season? We absolutely would have. The new ground obviously has been on the back burner for some, on the front and centre for others. And now it stands at the reality that, well, should we not focus now on what is going on the pitch here? What are these lads actually doing? What's the manager actually doing to win games? Look, we are fickle for every single football fan in the world. Fickle. I think that's factual, to be honest with you. Nobody's gonna change their view on a game if it doesn't change. If you get what I mean. And I think you watch something like that, and what we've seen. Like, I don't know, I've been some sort of delusion in my mind that we can do all these different things. But then when you look at what happened against Brentford, you look what happened against Newcastle, I think we've lost more at home than we've won, haven't we? I think that's right.
I think have we won 5 at home or 4? I think we've almost won as many or more than last season, but last season was terrible. But it's I don't know about losing, but I'll look into that now. We'll have a quick look.
Yeah, and I mean, it is criminal. Some of the games we've lost, even some of the games we've drawn, has been an absolute joke, hasn't it? And look, it feels like I'm going straight in at the deep end here, like I did with Everton should get in Europe this season. And I feel as if Moyes himself now is not. He's starting to show his true colours. If you bear with me what I'm saying here, because people are going to start thinking I'm screaming to get him sacked. I'm not saying that at all yet. But what I'm saying is there are various episodes of games where he hasn't done anything that need to be done, that need to be efficiently done, to make substitutions, to change his system, to change formation, to change players in certain positions as well. Going forwards, you're looking at Barry, you're looking at Beto. Yeah, they might not be good enough, but he doesn't seem to be able to put the right one on at the right time. we've actually we went into the season thinking, we're missing fullbacks. Yeah, we're going to go to the end of the season saying that, of course. But further out there as well, players that firstly aren't performing, which I think when you go into a stage of a season like this, Les, you are looking towards the manager a hell of a lot more than you're looking to players. You're thinking he's not doing enough. We should have signed this. We should have signed that. And things are becoming glaringly obvious of what we should have done. But nonetheless, we started the campaign and I was thinking, do you know what? We have got enough here. You've got a decent squad. We only missed a couple of players. We'd have taken this. And I think that's, in a roundabout way, that's where I've ended up at now, is this is the season that we sort of would have taken. So are we a little bit... Are you a hypocrite to think that, well, Everton should have been a miles better than what they have been? And I think in my defence, it's basically just been looking at the league table all the time, thinking you only need this, you only need that. When in reality, Everton are actually quite a distance away from this happening. And to the people who've said that, which there are a lot of fans who have, credit to them for thinking, you know what, this was always going to happen because Everton don't have enough.
Yeah.
What are Brentford sides doing, for instance? Well, yes, of course, you might go on the off chance and go and beat Villa, then beat Leeds, and then we're talking about it again. Obviously, that comes into the idea that we're all fickle football fans here, but it still doesn't get me that Everton could go on a 5, 6, 7 unbeaten run and then end up in the middle of it all. And it's sad, like I said, the term I'd use it with myself is really, really deflating.
Yeah, I think so. I had this conversation on WhatsApp with Matt Flusk and Keith at the weekend because Keith was saying we haven't had 2 comfortable mid-table finishes because we finished 15th on the dice. I said, well, if you take the points deduction off, we essentially finished 12th. We did win those points, so I'd argue we finished comfortably mid-table, points deduction notwithstanding. Last season we did the same, and I don't think it's unreasonable to expect us to kick on a bit. Brentford finished 10th, they're now 5th. Now the Arsenal fall out of them again. Newcastle have had a terrible start. They've kicked up the league, as you would expect, because they've got a better team. So it can all change really quickly. I think the frustrating thing for me is I don't think it's too much of an expectation to expect us to kick on, and we've kind of not. Kind of probably level par. But I think it's everything else around it. It's the manager reverting to type. It's Moyes coming back to, whereas last season he came in, he seemed really optimistic. He was like quite buoyed by stuff, wasn't he? I remember we were all saying, like, this is a different David Moyes here that's come in. And his tactics were a little bit more adventurous. He himself was talking about, we should be pushing for Europe and building things up. And this season, what's really done me head in is he's just reverting back to the old David Moyes that we know. And West Ham fans get a lot of stick for wanting him gone, which I can understand. But I think we can also understand why they thought that, because he is a manager who you do get to a point with where you're like, he's doing me head in now, because he does dampen expectations. And, like in anything, you want to have a little bit of hope. You don't want to be told, regardless, your season's over in January, which it essentially is now. But you don't want the manager coming out saying that. You want the manager coming out and saying, well, probably not going to sign anyone this transfer window. Maybe come out and just say, look, we're going to try our best because we know we need this position. We know we need that position. Give us something to go with, because it's draining the life out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think you've nailed it and everything you've said there, the aspects of it. And I think, I was laughing at this at the end of the game when Asnu came on and looked like a breath of fresh air. Somebody who can play at a fullback, somebody who can attack. He looked like a sensational new player.
Well, he looked like he had something to prove, didn't he? Because he came on and he flew into it, and he showed a lot of the deficiencies in our recruitment, because what we've not got up front in any real terms is pace. Right, Barry's pretty quick. We'll come on to him in a minute, because I don't think he's a number 9 either. I don't think he's a striker. I think he's a wide player. But we didn't get anyone with pace and intensity. Now, as soon as Asnu came on, like, Sunderland were right on the back foot, and we've not had that, have we?
And I think the psychological thing about bringing a player on who actually does well is it sort of goes against Moyes in a few ways, and that is, well, why hasn't he started? Why hasn't he played more? Why haven't we seen this lad? And that's very Moyes-esque of what he's been like as a manager, isn't it? When the Dylan and Dave term, has actually come to fruition again, hasn't it?
Yeah.
When you look what he's doing with these changes. And then the lad comes on and throws everything at it himself, goes and wins a penalty, which probably isn't one, but that's by the by, isn't it? But when he was on the ball, he looked like he wanted to attack all the time. His head's down, he's running, he's asking for the ball all the time. That lad probably came on thinking, I'll fucking show this fella.
Yeah.
I'll show him what I've got. I'll show what I do in training. He completely blanks me. And he did. And I think that, look, it's easy for us to go over the top, but say he felt like a new signing. He virtually was a new signing because he hasn't played.
Yeah.
And he came on and did that. But that goes against Moyes because he can't turn around and say, look, I told you he wasn't ready for this. Maybe you can make more of a case of that with Dibbling. But I think it just it defines what David Moyes has been like throughout his whole career. We've been blindfolded to an extent, or certainly me personally, in terms of what he is now. He's this completely different manager, not the same fella that we had in the first place, not the fella that went and won a trophy with West Ham. Because even I think when he won that trophy, he had a dance in the changes, and then he still wanted them gone. So he's still got the Moyes trend, hasn't he? Of what he's always been, and I think. Look, I'm not expecting us to go and get anything from Villa because Villa are the top three side now. It's only a couple of weeks ago they're in the title race, and clearly they're not going to go that far. But if we were to go and lose a Villa, I think the daggers are well and truly out for them. And then you look at that game against Leeds on the Monday following, then I'm looking far ahead of ourselves here, Les. But if we didn't get anything from those two games, then I think then the mob will be out.
Yeah, well, it's that. Then it's Brighton away, isn't it? Where traditionally we do pretty well there, but we've beaten them at home this season, so I can't see us doing the double. And then it's United at home on a Monday night again. Can't see us doing the double over United just because it's Everton. But yeah, just pick up on that then on Arsenal, and I want to compare him to Dibbling, basically because his performance did my head in at the weekend. Now, you can criticise Tyler Dibbling without writing him off. I am not writing him off by any stretch of the imagination. But his performance on Saturday just was not acceptable for me. First off, he was hiding behind players. If he was putting a tackle in, he'd dangle a leg in. When I've got kids football, I shout at kids for doing that. If you're going to make a tackle, at least get your body in and have some impact. Don't just dangle your leg in because it makes you look stupid and it's pointless. It's completely worthless. And he did that in the first half. Now, I've got some sympathy because I don't think Moyes has handled him very well up to this point, so he's not giving him enough game time to come in and have a prolonged stretch in the team for me. I think he could have handled him a lot better because he knew this was happening. He knew he'd have to use him in January and December, and I don't think he's built him up to that point. On the flip side, though, I know he's only 19, but the player himself has got to take responsibility for his performances. And I just don't think that was good enough. Second half, he did a couple of runs at players, and it worked well. And it's like, well, that's what we want to see. Just doesn't do it enough. Now, it might be a lack of confidence. I'm concerned about the stories of when he went to Chelsea and had to go back to Southampton. I'm concerned that there could be some issues around that. That's based on nothing other than what I've seen of him. But I just think I'm also not convinced he's a winger either. Yeah. He feels like more. He plays similarly to Grealish, doesn't he? And then he'll stand up the fullback, but he will never go down the outside, or very rarely goes down the outside. So I'm just wondering, is that his best position? But if you contrast his performance there to Asnu coming on, who came on and looked like he just really wanted it. He threw his body in, he got kicked, he didn't care. Compared to Harrison Armstrong as well, another player, same age, he's always looking to get the ball. He'll put a tackle in, he won't shirk it. So I just think that's what frustrates me about Tyler Dibbling. And I just think it's just symptomatic of so much that's wrong with this team. It's like no one really knows what the job is. And it's, like I said at the start, it feels like Moyes' tactic is get it to Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, and then die and see what happens. Whereas last season, he got the best of the players we have by playing a system that suits them and in a way that suits them. This season, it seems like get it to the three best players on the pitch and something will happen. And as we've seen this week, when they've not been there, nothing really happens, does it? And it just smacks of a real identity crisis on the pitch for me, that the team and the players don't really know what they are. The club doesn't know what it is, because we bought the players who maybe are development players who can't come back in, go straight in. Sorry, we bought players that can go straight in. We've got a manager who he's not one to bring players on from like the age of 19 and develop them. He's more of if the players about 23, 24, he'll bring them in and make them better players within a team, because he'll get the best. Most teams are often better than the sum of the parts, aren't they? And that's kind of his thing, and he's done that in the past with players. But I think at the minute we're just sort of all over the show. Moyes is retreating back into just being really quite defensive and pragmatic and see what happens. I don't know. I've rambled on a bit there, but my head's all over the shop after the weekend, to be honest.
No, I think you're right there. I think Moyes, he's got his little safety bubble, hasn't he, with stuff like that, and it just doesn't wash these times. I think that is when you make the comparisons of when he was our manager previously in his first term with us. Everton were like that because Everton were in a position where they couldn't spend any money, and I think that's always going to be the underlying condition with Moyes as well. Is you've gone and spent whatever it was over the summer. Whether, again, something else you can debate whether they were his players or not, but nonetheless, it's what he's got to work with, and a good manager does work with what they've been given. He's been given a lot. He's been given players that I think it's pretty obvious that some of them he wouldn't want himself. But again, as a manager, you've got to have that pragmatism, like you've just said there. Now, with Dibbling, I completely agree there. The lad looks lost.
Yeah.
He looks like someone who I don't feel he's a Premier League player, and I think that's going quite far. But when we've all been screaming for him to get a go, we've all been screaming for him to even get on off the pitch when there's 15, 20 left. When in general he's just been thrown on for the last 5, especially on games when we got no chance of getting anything from them. Like I think he came on late against Newcastle.
Yeah,
he comes on late, and you're like, well, it's just a token gesture that he's getting on. But what gets me is when he comes on, I think that's the actual period to actually do something where you've got no real pressure on you, because half the stadium's left. You get a beat 4-1 or whatever. You want to go and try and take the piss out of someone, there's the time to go and do it. Because we're all distracted by everyone else who's been a sack of shite all night.
That's the thing as well. So just quickly on that, Dave, he's not going to get stick for trying something up the pitch, is he? For a winger, you're happy for your wingers to make mistakes because they need to try stuff to get round the back and create chances. So they need to be a bit more bold and adventurous. Like you said, he looks lost and seems to be really playing within himself. He just doesn't look like he wants the ball to me.
It's interesting this because I had a French journalist from some French newspaper give me a call, and he said to me, "Oh, can we get a piece on Thierry Barry?" I said, yeah, well, what you need to know about it and all that. And like he couldn't speak great English, so I said, can you send me an email, me a WhatsApp, whatever. So he's asking me these questions about him, how I think I've done and all this, and I tried to stay as sort of I don't know, make him look like he's quite plausible.
Don't go in 2-footed like.
No, and I probably it was the wrong time to actually be nice about it, wasn't it? How he was against Sunderland, but I said, the old-fashioned, he's trying everything, it's just not working. Yeah, it hasn't clicked. I said something like, he still gets backed by fans, he gets applauded by fans. So you see after, I don't know, it was when he scored, certainly obviously against Forest, but the first goal he scored, I said the fans were absolutely delighted for him because we paid a lot of money for the player that hasn't hit anywhere near what we'd signed him for. Lo and behold, I got a lot of stick back from, probably rightly so, saying, why are you saying this fella's good? Because he's been absolutely crap. Like you said, we'll go on to that in a minute, positional wise. Maybe that'll help him a little bit more. But yeah, there's a lot of issues there. And with hindsight, it's probably had a negative effect on Beto. He should be our number 9. But that's something I think we could talk about all day long. Like where you're going to be get quite depressed on Everton.
He was woeful on Saturday as well, Beto.
Yeah, and there are problems. I mean, I think there's a good, interesting comparison here because you've got like a Beto and a Barry who have the same sort of mentality of coming on and throwing everything they've got at it. That's fine in terms of if you're not a good enough footballer and you're trying your best, then there's nothing else you can do. That's down to the club who've employed them. So then you're like, well, they shouldn't have signed them then if they're not good enough. Sorry, mate, it doesn't work. We're a professional entity. We should not have signed you because you're not good enough. Listen, lads, we'll try and get rid of you. That's the way they should know it. I don't care how old they are. I mean, he's not exactly a spring chicken, is he?
Barry's 23.
Yeah, but there you go. And everyone's still, he's still raw, he's still this, he's still that. You did 23 and you haven't made it.
Yeah, well, he did, to be fair to him, he has had a steep career trajectory, hasn't he? So I think about 3 or 4 seasons ago, he was playing like the Belgian second division or something. So he has risen quickly, but I don't think it's too much to expect a bit more. I think when he came on at the weekend, he grew into the game a little bit. And he was certainly better than Beto, I think, because he was dreadful. But for me, he always looks more comfortable, and we'll just go on to this now, than cutting in from the wing. He looks to me like a wide player, really, or a wide forward. So if you're playing a 4-3-3, he'll be on the right or the left of the main striker. That's the sort of player he feels like to me, because he looks so much more comfortable when he picks the ball up out wide and has a run on than having to play up front and running onto the ball, if you get me.
Well, neither of them can hold the ball up themselves when it's tossed up to them, and that's a major flaw in David Moyes' world, isn't it? You need a forward player who can hold it up, lay it off, and come run forward themselves and wait for the cross to come in.
Yeah,
neither of them are good at that. So whilst I have sympathy with that, you're 23, you're getting paid near 40, whatever the price is, which is, it's quite, makes you feel sick when you're seeing that. And you're seeing the price you paid on both of them, plus Dibbling. You're paying well over £100 million for 3 players that, let's face it, they might change. Hopefully it does, but you consider them as being flops right now. Might be overly harsh on Dibbling because we haven't seen enough of them still. But you're seeing performances like that. I think the FA Cup's different as well here, because I don't feel as if there's as much pressure on that as there will be in a Premier League game. And yet they've all been flops in that. So, I mean, look, Beto had that sort of glorious little period, didn't he, towards the end of last season where he was scoring goals.
Yeah.
That seems to have gone. Barry, we thought the floodgates will open then when he's gone and scored a goal. Did so at Forest. I'm thinking, yeah, here we go, he'll kick on. That hasn't happened. And just going back to what you said, I'll get to in a sec there, what you said about him being on one of the flanks. Probably the left cutting in. But you compare him with Dibbling, the attitudes those players go on with. And I guess I am going in on Dibbling here. Those lads come on and try their best, even though they're not good enough. Dibbling, when he's playing, doesn't look like he's given absolutely everything that he's got.
Yeah.
Now, that could me being really completely wrong about it, thinking, well, he is giving his best like the others, but he's simply not good enough. We haven't seen enough of him to maybe judge that. I think with Dibbling, his body language, the way in which he tries to get involved in games, looks like he's just in a brand new contract and he should be in the 23s for a lot longer. That's not going to happen because you paid that much money for him. You're going to get us as fans, going to use that word fickle, who need to see him more because you paid that amount of money. So that's got a lot of issues over there, that lad. And I'm not sure. Well, David Moyes certainly isn't the best manager to put his arm around his shoulder and say, listen, mate, you need to do this, you need to do that. He comes on. I think he's said it several times. He's still got a lot of work to do. He's got a lot of potential, but we want to see him do this, do that. If we want to see him do it, go and do it then. If you don't do it, he's not good enough. I know when you mentioned about Barry there, I do agree. I think if you're going to get, say, the best out of him, the best of it not being great, from what we've seen so far, I do agree. I think if you put him out wide, you get him on the ball. He's got fast feet. Seen him a few times. Sometimes he's goes a little bit extravagant when he doesn't need to. When he can just simply pass the ball and he tries to a nice little trick or back heel it to somebody like that. That's not going to work in a situation where you haven't gone far doing anything else. So I think, I'd like to see him do that. He's quick. But at the end of the day, he's not going to get a start on either flank, is he? So what I would say is, you get into a situation, I think, with Grealish now, where he's been found out, and it's maybe a stupid way of saying it because he's been in the Premier League, he's won the Champions League. People know who Jack Grealish is. When Everton signed Jack Grealish, we were all immensely excited about it, rightly so. But you can see why Pep Guardiola wasn't bothered about getting rid of him. And I think we spoke to Dave Mooney from the Blue Moon podcast there, and he said, Grealish will do everything you want him to, everything you need him to do, but the end product just simply isn't there. And that's why they got someone in like Doku, who just, I'm a big fan of his. He'll do everything he can to get to the byline, cross, shot. He's got things that that's a fullback's nightmare. Jack Grealish hasn't. He's got the intelligence to do what you need. I don't need to tell people what Jack Grealish is like, but I think the honeymoon period, which has been a hell of a long time, has gone with Grealish, and that's not for me to say he shouldn't be starting games, but we do need different things from him.
Yeah,
you look at it there, Les, you're thinking, well, we've spoken about Mikalenko being a real problem with linking with him and maybe getting the ball in and out from him, 1-2s, getting to the byline, crossing the ball. Mikalenko's not that fullback. You put one on there and Asnu there, maybe you try that. But we've got the important notes. The more thing that comes to my mind is you've got a manager who just simply will not do that. You won't see Asnu anywhere near Jack Grealish for the rest of this season. I'm pretty sure about that. In fact, I put a lot of money on that.
Yeah, it feels quite, it feels nailed on, doesn't it? That it's nothing's going to change, really. Then my issue with Grealish is he's like, he's won more free kicks than anyone, and he's set up more goals than in his debut season than anyone bar Kanchelskis, Barnby, and someone else at Everton. Can't remember who. So he's doing well in that regard, but it seems like he's got to play on that left-hand side no matter what. So that's on the manager to you know what, if he's not getting any joy down that left-hand side, stick someone fast on there, move him in the middle, do something different. And it seems like, no, that's his position. He's going to put Dewsbury Hall into number 10, where I don't think he's as effective, because that's his position in Moyes' head. And then Dye stays on the right. You never see those two wingers switch. There's never anything different. And that's when it becomes predictable, isn't it? And it becomes quite pedestrian. And then when you've got Beto and Barry, who haven't been good enough in that number 9 position, when they're the players who are getting the ball played into them, or their movement's not good enough, that's where the problem starts, isn't it? And that's where you get a lack of chances coming in. So even though he's set up a load of goals, I think what he's got to work with and the rigidity of the system it's not helping anyone.
It's starting to dry up though, Les, as well. That's the other thing about it. I say it a lot in our shows, but you will get found out in that division. It doesn't matter whether you're playing Wolves or you're playing Arsenal. You will get found out eventually. There's managers in this game, there's players in this game that have the intelligence to be able to look at somebody at the end of a game and say, there's the one we target, there's the one we stopped. Half your job's done. You stop them doing what they want to do. The one exception to that's Dye, isn't it? I mean, he's head and shoulders above everybody else, and then some.
Yeah.
And even though, like you say, I mean, he gets told to stick in a position, but he actually makes it work. I'd love to see what you've said there. You're so right. And how many times have we said it to Moyes over the years? Just do something else. Try something else. Put on a kid we'd never seen or barely seen, and then we've seen something decent come from him. We've seen him get a penalty from him. He provided something. There was an end product. Do you expect to see him against Aston Villa? He might as well sit in the stands. He's not getting nowhere near playing against Aston Villa. Yeah, and the rest of the Premier League game. He's got no cup games to show himself either. So I'd be surprised if he gets maybe 4 or 5 substitute appearances, unless there's like serious injury issues in full-back positions or wing positions. I mean, you look quite versatile. So, maybe you're looking at things thinking, if you had a manager there, you've got, say you put him in a category of the 4 of them, Grealish, Dye, Asnu, and Dibbling. I mean, you throw all them into a basket, and you are considerably a long way away from picking Dibbling out the 4. This lad came on for the second half, and he's already he's on the toes of the other 2.
Well, he's man of the match within 15 minutes. He came on for like 15 minutes, and he's probably our best player.
Correct. And And again, it goes against Moyes. It does go against him because how many times now, once again, do you look when the on your Twitter when it goes out, the team comes out, it's like, oh no, not again. Who's down on the bench? We haven't got a bench. But now you look and think, oh, do you know what? There's one player on the bench there who we've seen can change things.
Yeah.
Why is he not starting when X player is being crap? Or why is he not playing because we could do this against the opposition? You know, we do the preview show. Matt does the preview show every week, and they'll talk to fans of the other club are playing, and they'll talk about what's been good, what's been bad, you know, whose players are disappointing them. If a fan's telling you that, it's pretty obvious it's going to be happening, isn't it? So why isn't he looking at the opposition thinking, well, he's susceptible to being an outlet for us there. If we've got someone we want to attack and get us further up the pitch, then okay, we should start this player because he can do better than what they're expecting from a Jack. I look like I'm hammering Jack Grealish here. Perhaps I am.
I know what you mean, though.
But that's I'm glad you said that because there's nothing different from what we see here from players and from Moyes. So generally, things like that are only headed in one direction for the manager. And we've got an ownership we don't really know about, but they are renowned for having this sort of quite ruthless approach. What happens over at Roma?
Yeah,
are they going to change for Everton? Well, I think they've sort of kept the cards hard to their chest so far. But you keep on this and meandering around games and just I think you need to take away now. And at certain times, you know, I think it's difficult here because on one hand, I'll be like, you know what, great! It's a great season for us, given the last 4 years where we've been scrapping and just about keeping our head above water. And then the other side of me is, which I've been, Everton need X amount of points from X position. That's what I've leaned towards all season long here.
Yeah.
Come to the conclusion, like I mentioned at the start of the show, that I don't think we're good enough, and it's come to light for me, probably far too late than it has to everybody else. But still, I mean, that carrot's still dangled in front of you. But I think the overall thing that's on top of all that, the umbrella that's on top of all that, is Moyes. And I wonder what he's being thought of here. Are the owners looking at the table? Are the owners talking to Kinnear thinking, do you know what, we should be doing better than this? I don't care what's gone. I want year zeros always referred to as a clean slate. Any sort of term like that is used when you're into a new campaign and you've signed a load of players, which we have. Did they look at that thinking Everton should be doing better? I'd like to know from those in the know where Everton should be. And I'm not just talking about the way Everton are and the way Everton play. I'm talking about compare that with what you can do and what we've shown at times that we can do. He's this is the wrong thing to say again. I'm full of all sorts of terms today, but he's a victim of his own success in inverted commas. And that is getting us into a relatively comfortable position when we were in a relegation fight, when we got rid of Dyche, and getting this season started where a few games you looked at and thought, you know what, Everton look like a serious side here. They look like they can go and do something. And that's happened in little bits and bobs, hasn't it? It's happened now and again. Everton in a gambler's nightmare because you don't know how they're going to get on result-wise.
Coupon busters always have been.
But now, Les, we're starting to see things come to the fore that you're like, oh, do you know what?
Yeah.
Things have either been found out or we're not good enough in this position, and lo and behold, the results are starting to come with it now. So that is when people start turning the noses up at what Moyes has done since he's came back. So then that context sort of drifts away.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the ownership's got that angle looking at it.
Well, an interesting question for me is what did the ownership want from David Moyes? What did he want from Everton at the minute? Now, if stability is the key,
he's got an A-star, if that's the case.
Oh, yeah, stability is the key. That's fine. And we said at the end of last season, after the last couple of seasons, we just take a mid-table finish. That's sound. The issue for me is, if you've got that stability, you need tangible signs of other things getting better. So we've gone into January and already it's the same old Everton. We're probably going to go with what we've got. Expectations dampened. You got players like Dibblin, you got players like Asnu and Barry. you need to see progression from them. We're not seeing that. So it's just like we're completely in stasis. We're not doing anything. We're just existing like we have done for the past 30 odd years.
Yeah.
And it's draining. It's not too much to ask for a little bit more. Now, I'm not saying go out and win stuff. Show some signs of moving things forward, because nothing's moving forward at the minute. We've moved to a new ground. That does bring its own issues, which I think we're seeing now a little bit, because there is this deadening period. Got off to a good start, which I thought maybe we broke the mould, but we're probably doing what every club does when they go to a new stadium and you do hit this little rut, which we seem to be in at the minute. But within that, if you sign these young players, you want to see them coming on. You want to see them progressing. We're not getting anything, and we're just basically same old Everton. And that's the biggest frustration for me, because things need to be different. Things can be different, but they're just not.
I mean, it feels the ground thing you mentioned there. That's something else that I think's at the top of people's agenda here following the weekend. And there was a guy, we were talking in the group, there's a guy who was saying something like really overly romantic about Goodison, and making it be like the best place in the world that's ever existed and all that sort of thing. And if you're in this particular part of the Gladys Street, I get that.
There's a lot of street enders who were very forlorn about it. To be honest, man, it did really burn my head out.
Well, yeah, there you go. It's the hindsight of it as well, isn't it? People are going to be saying that when you lose games at home, and we're still not screaming from the rooftops from the first minute to the 90th in the new stand that we're in. I think Everton in general, and it gets me to say that, most Premier League grounds don't have amazing atmospheres.
Yeah.
They do for certain periods, but away, the fans away from home far more vocal than the ones at home. I think that's the natural way things are, because you need to scream a bit louder to be heard when you're away, and you've only got like 10% of the amount of people that are at the ground. But I think a lot of us expected more, not fan base wise, but also what we see on the pitch when we go there. Because once again, and it's been this way for several years, Everton are better away from home than they are at home, and I don't understand why there's such a chasm between those two. One end or the other. We were brilliant to Forest away. We beat them 3-0 at home, yeah. That's because Forest were worse then at the time. But we're going to do that away from home. Bournemouth, the side there, going finally get that win 1-0. Really good performance away from home. It's not because the natural thing that many people have always felt, and that's we put too much pressure on them. I think that's absolute nonsense, because if you're a Premier League footballer that has an impact, that's a negative impact from the crowd that you're playing in front of at home, it's not like we're sitting there and begging for blood. No, nobody's doing that. They want more from you.
We're generally pretty easily pleased. Just run round and get stuck in.
Everton are not no fans of the club. I'd be interested to get their perspective, but I don't think we're fans to please easily. Sorry, I think we are fans to please quite easily. These days, certainly, because look at Asnu there, 15 minutes, come on. And I think he's like Cafu. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking at him thinking, it's a breath of fresh air. He's only have 15 minutes on the pitch. I'm going too far for that. But that's the general theme you get as a fan, isn't it? You want to see something new. You want to see.
You want to be excited.
Exactly. And that's on them. That's what they have to go and do. So that it's all into one sort of mixed pot of it all, isn't it? When it comes to what fans are expecting and what players are giving us, which is quite on a low bar at the moment. And I think that's where players can succeed. That's when a dribbling I want to see, run at someone. You get tackled, lads, unlucky. But if you do that once and you do skin someone and you get a crossing and we have a chance, fine. There's your box ticked. That's how things are at the moment. And then we'll start progressing from that, hoping he does it a lot more. And then the lad will get some confidence. I think it's really simple. I think what he should be doing, and others, I don't know what they're getting told by Moyes to do in terms of when you get the ball, pass it. When you get the ball, pass it. When you get the ball, lay it off. I think that's probably what David Moyes is saying to these lads in training. He's not going to say to, and it just actually come to my mind then. There was a video from training earlier this year, late last year, where Ndiaye was just skinning everyone. That thing when he had the ball and he was just ripping everybody apart and like literally making them all look like kids.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Moyes, they're all laughing and joking. I'm thinking, Moyes, take that serious. Let him do that. Go and let Dibbling do that. I want to see Dibbling go on the pitch and have a go. You paid 40 million quid for them. You know, why aren't these? There's a mentality issue there, Les, as well. And
yeah, feels like it.
I feel like we've been conned. Maybe that's the title of this one. Do you feel as if we've been conned a little bit by what Everton look like they should be, what Everton have shown us they can be, but ultimately what Everton are not?
Yeah, we're just Everton again, like we have been for years, and that's the depressing thing for me. Before we move on to the last bit, because I want to talk about that kit, I need to mention the penalties, because fuck me. Oh God, Garner's was just a really, really bad penalty. He hit that with no confidence. After his first one, which was good because the keeper went the right way, but it still went in, so that was far enough in the corner. I just don't think he hit that one as well. He probably should have gone a bit higher, knowing the keeper would go low. Just didn't look confident taking that to me. No. Barry's, Penno, and Beto's, it's like, can we please just stop this straight little shuffled run up and then a weak shot? It just, even when they go in, it looks a bit shit. And Dye does that. He doesn't do a straight shuffle.
I love that, mate. Even when it goes in, it looks shit.
No, it does, doesn't it? Like, when the penalties rolled in, like, I hate Ndye's penalties. Love them because they go in, and he's good enough to roll the ball. He's good enough to do that. Beto and Barry aren't good enough to do that, so don't even try it. And Ndye is, but even his penalties, because I think if the keeper does go the right way, if he doesn't send them, he's going to save it, especially when they're not right in the corner. So I don't like that style of penalty anyway, but you've got to be a good player to be able to do it. You've got to be really good, like Ndye, because you've got to send the keeper the wrong way, because if he goes the right way, he saves it. So when Ndye can do it, it still burns me head out, but he can do it. Barry's run up and Beto's run up. You can't run up to a penalty straight and roll it like that. It was pathetic for me.
Well, it was like I said it a few times. It was Tomato Nana's one against Fulham looked better. You were that bad, and I don't understand as well. I mean, you've got to be thick to not take that as an opportunity. I don't.
Yeah, two strikers not scored much.
It's a penalty shootout. It's the easiest opportunity you're going to get to put the ball in the back of the net there, which they've both struggled to do.
Yeah,
you know, they can take anything off the pressure that's on them to at least go and score a penalty. And then us, as fans, are looking at somebody else who goes and misses, like you mentioned there with Grealish. That's what's going to happen in a penalty shootout. If their keeper makes a world-class save, then you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Which their keeper's going to get renowned as a hero. It wasn't exactly a hard job, was it? He must have been sitting there at the end thinking, I'm going home with all sorts of man of the match awards and fans are adoring me. All I've done is basically dive once and then just had to fall over on the other two.
Just do his cap on it.
Well, what gets me, Les, is like you've got to be so thick to do it the way those two did. And the stakes are high with that, obviously, to put us out of a cup competition, which was the only chance we had of actually doing anything this season, is you're in a position now where people are on your back constantly. Even when Beto was in his pomp in Everton last season, I use that term loosely and quite ironically, maybe. But just belt the ball, hit the ball as hard as you can. I don't care. But look, if a goalkeeper if I get a ball on a penalty spot, because believe it or not, Paul Dargan will tell you, I could hit a ball.
It's a good penalty, so there.
I could belt a penalty, right? Can't do much, but I'll do that for you. You do that, and a goalkeeper saves it. You put your hands up and say, "Well, that's a world-class save."
Yeah,
I've done exactly what I should have done. Hit the target as hard as I possibly can. That's the basics, I think. You probably said that to your lads when you with your team you take a penalty. Because after all this fancy shit, and even if you don't have the confidence to pick a position, I'm going to put it in that corner. I'm going to put it in that corner. Even if you don't have the confidence in that, just put your foot through it.
Yeah.
Every chance is still scoring a goal. And those two to take that, with Barry, I look at that sort of his personality starting to look at me like they stink a little bit. My personality, his attitude.
Well, for me, that's unwarranted arrogance. It's not confidence because he didn't look confident. It feels a bit arrogant to me that you think you can hit a penalty like that and expect to beat the keeper. Said the same when Onana hit his exactly the same. It's like, do you think that's good enough to beat that keeper? And it's not. Yeah, and if you look at the Sunderland penalties, they twatted all of them, basically. Pickford often goes the right way, and he did again at the weekend, but the penalties are that good, or they're just high enough to get out of his way. It's got to be a good save to stop him going in. And they hit them all well.
Yeah, I mean, with Pickford there, when he gets his hand to them and they still go in again, you're looking at that. That's unlucky. That's really unlucky. Similarly,
it's a welcome penalty as well, though, isn't it? If you're going up on it to get it past the keeper, like.
Exactly. And then, similarly, you look at it and think, am I looking at me player think, he's unlucky not to score that there? No, I'm not. I'm looking at it saying, that was shit. You should not have done it, and you put us out of the cup. And it's just, it's really, really poor. These are professionals. I keep saying that word, professional. Professionals, Les. They have a standard to stick to. They have a standard to try to move above it. Try to excel. Yeah. These lads aren't excelling, taking a penalty kick. The easiest part of the game.
Yeah, 12 yards out. As well.
You know, you're not going to get much more easy chances in a football match than to hit a ball as hard as you can from 12 yards out and put it in.
I know.
It was embarrassing. And I feel as if, you're probably looking at that, and a neutral will be looking at that thinking, well, Everton didn't deserve to go through anyway. So you got a penalty. You got that one to get the 2 extra time. And I was like, obviously I was going crazy thinking, you know what? Those little things happen. You start thinking, it might be our season. Things like that. Because it probably shouldn't have been a penalty. You go and score it. Ironically, it was Garner who goes and misses a pen when it's a shootout.
Well, there's something in that as well. It's always like, if you've scored in the game or in the shootout or a penalty or a goal in the game, don't take the penalty. Because we've seen that before. Like Leighton Baines springs to mind against Leicester when he scored that rocket, but took it to penalties and then he missed his. It's like, if you scored in the game, don't take a penalty, I think.
Correct, exactly.
But but that was the embarrassing aspect for me. I think our performance wasn't very good, but we did enough to get 2 extra time with penalties. Those penalties were just embarrassing. Right, another thing that was embarrassing for a lot of people was the kit that we wore. So as I said before, as a club, we seem to have a bit of an identity crisis now. That's to be expected for the fans and maybe to the players to a degree, because the identity of the club was so inextricably linked. But Goodison, we moved away from that. It causes issues. It is causing issues. But when you get to things like, the blue kit at home is part of your identity. That is Everton. We nearly had a situation where Sunderland would have wore their blue kit if they didn't want to wear. If they thought those shorts were going to clash, they may have worn their blue kit, which would have been dead funny. But anyway, we avoided that. This kit, Castore brought it out as a 4th kit, which in itself is mind-boggling because you shouldn't need 4 kits. And played it in a one-off. Well, played it in the FA Cup. Called it an FA Cup kit. It was to celebrate our new home at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Quite what it had to do with the new stadium. Quite what it had to do with the club, navy blue and bright pink. I have absolutely no idea. I thought it was a really odd decision to wear the kit. It's not a bad kit. It looks quite nice. It's a bit of a rerun of the 2018-19 away, isn't it? We had a similar one that was black and pink. Very similar to that. But I don't see the relevance of celebrating the new ground, celebrating the heritage of the city, apart from the training gear got an outline of the skyline on it, all over it. I just don't see the relevance of it. And just before we go on to talk about it, the timing of its release was so poor on the back of that tit from Castore and his comments last week. So Tom Beahon, who set up the company in 2015 with his brother, said last week, we live in a capitalist society. If people couldn't afford it, those prices wouldn't be charged. So if people couldn't afford to buy a kit, they just wouldn't buy it and we wouldn't charge those prices. They charge, let me check, £80, £115 for a kit that's going to be synonymous with us getting knocked out the cup now, and that's it. They're charging £115 a shirt for that and saying, well, people buy it because they can afford it. It's like, well, no. Adults, maybe. If you really feel you need a kit as an adult, and I love footy tops and footy kits. If you feel like you need one, that's on you. Kids, it's different, and the kids' kits are expensive. So we're in January there. We've come out of Christmas where, parents, the kids want the kit. Parents wait until Christmas, you'll get it for Christmas. They could have spent the best part of £200 on 2 kits there. Suddenly a fourth one comes out. They've maybe swerved the third one. Because if you want to buy them all for your kids, you're spending the best part of £500 on 4 kits there. And people can't afford that, but people will do it. People will go without other things to pay for that. Parents will deprive themselves of some things they like to give to the kids because that's what you do. Doesn't mean they can afford it. And I just think that comment was just horrific, absolutely awful, especially as he must have known that this kit was coming out. We're their flagship football team, basically. We are the biggest team they've got on their roster in England anyway. So we must have known this kit was coming out. To say that and then release a fourth kit, we'll go on to the relevance of it in a minute, but that just proper did my head in that because it was a disgusting comment, completely untrue, so short-sighted, and I just don't think the club should have anything to do with people like that.
No, it's a slap in the face, isn't it? For the fourth, I know we'll go on to it a little bit more or less, but the fourth kit thing, it reminds me when you said that you like your footy kits, you like all your gear for the match and all that sort of thing, which I think is great. But you'd have a lot of fans now, this sort of the retro lovers of, they collect the kits. There's a couple of businesses, isn't there, where you pay a monthly subscription, you get sent to top, and you don't know what it's going to be. You get people, and even those guys must look at that and think, oh, I don't know if I don't want that one if I've paid to get the kit that's going to be. I don't know what it's going to be. I mean, why somebody like that who are meant to be what? I haven't looked too deep at this. I think many people have. But are these 2 local fans from your neck of the woods?
Yeah, they're from Babington. 2 brothers from Babington. Yeah. They've done incredibly well, given the fact that the logo's shit, but I'll leave that to one side. They've done incredibly well to build up in 10 years. They've got Formula 1, cricket, football. They've done really well. But that sort of attitude, that's just like, and it's notoriously the kits have been poor quality over the years, and that's why Villa have bought themselves out of the deal. Newcastle have done the same because they've not been happy with the kits. I haven't found an issue with the quality, to be honest. Of the gear, it seems okay. It seems fine, but when you hear stuff like that, he's just taking people for mugs there. It's out of order.
It's so thick as well, and it shows you that I've made it, mate. I can say what the fuck I like.
Yeah,
it's like Elon Musk, that sort of crap, isn't it? Where I can say what I like and read the room. But the thing is, though, Les, these
exactly.
People are not going to be asked. People, and that's where you are. You're taking the piss out of people, like when you're saying it. Like loads of young kids, my nephew was like that. Every time a kit comes out, it's like Christmas Day for many of them. Yeah, you're looking at it then thinking, fucking hell, I need that to pay a bill. I need that to do this, to do that. I've got more important things than this. But because you're my kid, I put you before everything else in my life. That's what you want. I'm going to go and get it. You got some gobshite who's made it, some piece of shit, and he's coming out saying that. You just feel like saying, what is going on? And yet you've got Everton Football Club, the People's Club, not doing anything to stop it. Now, there's been, I don't know how this works, but there's been several times across this season when I've looked at the website, and it's been down to like, there's a, discount or whatever that they do, and it's like, for 1 week only, it's this price. Then you look at it again, it came to Christmas and it went back to the full price. Yeah, we'll take the piss out of these a bit more. Not put a discount on for Christmas like everywhere else doesn't have, Black Friday and all that sort of thing. They don't do that. They do it the opposite way. Like Black Friday, will charge you more. The rest of it.
the kits are down to like 40, 50 quid now. The other one, but this brand new one's still top whack, obviously, because it's just come out.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest with you, I actually like it. I like the look of it, but that doesn't matter really, does it? Because I certainly won't be paying 80 quid for. I wouldn't be paying when they knocked 40% off and have to pay 50 odd quid for that. That's still far too much for a football kit these days. And it's quite, again, it's sickening. It just leaves a bad taste in your mouth, especially when you've got some punter who runs it saying, oh, well, if you've got the money, buy it anyway. I don't give a shit about everybody else. Read the room, mate. look who the club is. Look the Everton tradition. You look at people from Liverpool, the way in the fans, the club's originality, everything, how things have been brought about about Everton, who they are, the reputation of Everton. Then come out and say that it's sick. It really is. And do we finish them this season? Do we?
No, I think we've got them next season as well, at least.
Okay, no.
Stake finishes this season, doesn't it? But we've got Castore still. Just on the look of the kit, then. So the website said Castore is kicking off 2026 with the new Everton kit, a match day range that celebrates Hill Dickinson Stadium's place in one of the most iconic and revered cities in the world. It's navy blue and pink, so I don't actually know how it does that or why. As I said, the training gear's got the skyline on it like an abstract pattern, but it's got no relevance to Everton, no relevance to the FA Cup. You know, we played Sunderland in the third round in 1966, beat them 3-0, went on to win the cup. That's the last time we've played top flight opposition at home and won the cup. So, top flight opposition at home in the third round and won the cup. That was 66. If they'd have brought out an edition of the 66 kit, the way Tottenham did to celebrate 125 years since they first won the FA Cup this weekend, they wore a white kit.
Yeah.
Didn't need just like an all-white one. Didn't do them any good either. But anyway, if they'd have brought out that, I could maybe see the relevance of that, because it's like it is a bit of history. You're going in on that. Okay, still don't agree with it, but I can kind of see, okay, that this is where they're coming from. To bring out a navy blue and pink kit, I just don't get it. And it's just like a long line of things. The half-arsed Leaving Goodison shirt that wasn't even badged up by them, wasn't worn at all. It was just like a polo shirt that they brought out to commemorate Leaving Goodison, which felt very last minute. The half-arsed wave designs, because we're down on the Mersey this season on the home kit. It's just not memorable at all, is it? It's lazy, and I just feel like it's taking everyone for mugs, really.
You've got an easy win there as well, Les. Do you know what I mean? You've got something there. I know there's a revenue side of things that's probably front and center, but even with that being the case as well, you can make the most out of that by actually putting something that people like to wear, something that people think, you know what, that's really smart. I'm going to get it. The difference of maybe somebody like me who haven't bought a footy top for years, or to actually get one to wear a footy, or something like that. I've got a load in the wardrobe there I probably won't ever see again, let alone wear them again. But you go and get them when it's a bit of a novelty. And I think when you've got such an opportunity with Leaving Goodison and starting a new ground and all of this, the idea and all the sort of pleasantries of doing that, you've got a great opportunity to put something out, even half decent, even if it looks okay, that people are then going to look into. But it's like a double hit in the bollocks, because you're already being charged that much money anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna have to pay that much money to get a footy kit, at least make it something that looks a little bit worthwhile.
Yeah.
A little bit like, oh, my kids will look smart in that. When he goes to school and all his mates are cop-ites, at least they'll be able to look all right when they're making him cry in the corner. You know what I mean? Not look like a dickhead wearing a navy top with a pink badge saying that it was traditional Everton apparel. It's just not like when you've said that. I mean, is there any sort of crap blurb that said why it's related to us? Have you said anything about it?
No. So I think the design central to the range is a dark blue playing kit that will be worn by the men's senior team for today's FA Cup third round tie. Hill Dickinson, which stadium, which took 3.5 years to complete and officially opened on August 2025, has become a celebrated addition to Liverpool's waterfront skyline. No, they just talk about the gigs of ground. No, there's nothing to say why.
Is that what they're on about?
yeah, and a blackout. I don't know. It's odd. It really does burn me head out. I just don't get it at all. And the only thing is, just to finish, is Castore even had a bit of a tap in, because they've got the rights to Umbro. They could have given us Umbro kits for our last season. Yeah, they've got the license for Umbro, so they still make Rangers kits, but they badge it up as Umbro now because they were Castore. They could have given us Umbro kits, Umbro training gear, the lot, which would have flown out in our last season at Goodison. Same at this new one, the new ground, same thing, something commemorative, something Umbro, because Umbro are pretty inextricably linked with the Toffees, aren't they? They just are. As a sports brand, it's probably the main one. And I think people would have lapped that up. But I think they're just so arrogant and they just want Everton to be their sort of flagship Premier League team that they badged it up with their own shit wings badge and have given us that shite, basically. So yeah, I really, do you know what? I hated them anyway because I hated that logo. But after those comments, I just cannot stand them. So get rid of
the kit. Get rid of them. Tell them to leave. Keep them out of Merseyside.
Yeah,
because that comments. There's all sorts that have been thrown right at us. They made us out to be mugs.
It's horrible.
There'll be plenty who listen to us there who will have felt it that it's a necessity to get it for their loved ones or even themselves. They might like the look of it. I like the look of it, but it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I like it or it's whatever colour. I don't particularly care. It's the impact it has in and around it that would really bother us the most, and rightly so. The amount's extortionate, and the look of it is the design of it, the way in which they've made it. I mean, I was half expecting someone had to go at me for saying it, but I was half expecting those times, when you order a kit and they'd turn up with the Man City badge on it. I think I'd actually prefer that less than what we're getting from Castore.
It's not good, and that's just really done me head in. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Let us know your thoughts on that, by the way, or anything we spoke about on the show, because we did get through quite a bit there without actually talking about the game too much, thankfully, because going there 3 times in a week and watching that has really done my head, and I'm glad I'm not going for another couple of weeks. I'm even considering jibbing the Leeds game because at the minute I just cannot be bothered with the money I fix it. But we will pick that up when the time comes, and I'll mull over that myself. Anyway, that's been it for this week's Blue Monday. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks to Dave. And let us know your thoughts on that. And we'll catch you next week with another, hopefully, but probably not, happier Blue Monday.